structuring your ESG reporting. Let's talk about how to actually structure your ESG reporting, because once you've decided to communicate your ESG performance, you need to figure out what to say and how to organise it. Now, if you start researching ESG reporting, you'll quickly encounter a whole alphabet soup of frameworks and standards. GRI, SASB, TCFD, CDP, ISSB, the list goes on, and you might think, do I need to follow one of these frameworks or standards? Which one should I choose? How do I even understand what they're asking for? Let me give you some straightforward guidance on this. If you're a large listed company, you may be required to report according to specific frameworks. For example, if you operate in the EU or have significant EU operations, you might be subject to CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. In these cases, you don't have a choice. You need to follow the required framework. If you're a mid-market private company, frameworks can be helpful, but they're not essential. They provide structure and ensure you're covering the right topics, but you don't necessarily need to formally adopt a framework. You can use them as a guide without committing to full compliance. If you're an SME, my advice is to start simple. Don't try to implement a complex reporting framework in your first year. Build your reporting capabilities gradually, and you can adopt frameworks later as you mature. So what does a simple, effective ESG report look like? Let me walk you through a structure that works for most businesses. Introduction and context. This is where you explain who you are, why ESG matters to your business, your approach to managing ESG, and the scope of your reporting. Who you are. Give a brief overview of your business, what you do, where you operate, how many employees you have, what sectors you serve. Why ESG matters to your business. Explain why you're prioritising ESG. Is it because of customer demand, regulatory requirements, your values, your business strategy? Be really specific. Your approach and governance. Describe how ESG is managed in your organisation. Who is responsible? What governance structures do you have? How do you make decisions about ESG priorities? Reporting scope and boundaries. Be clear about what's included in your report. Are you reporting on all of your operations or just some? Are you including your supply chain or just your direct operations? What time period does the report cover? Goals and commitments. This is where you can explain what you're trying to achieve. State your high-level ESG ambitions. For example, we're committed to reducing our carbon emissions in line with the UK's net zero target. Or, we're committed to achieving gender balance in our leadership team. What targets have you set? Give specific, measurable targets. Reduce Scope 1 and 2 emissions by 30% by 2030, using 2023 as our baseline, for example. Or achieve 50% female representation in senior management by 2027. What timelines are you working to? Be really clear about your timeframes: short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. Performance data. This is the heart of your report, the actual numbers. Quantitative metrics. Present your key ESG metrics in a clear, easy-to-understand format. Use tables, charts, and graphs. Common metrics include carbon emissions, energy consumption, waste, water use, employee turnover, diversity statistics, training hours, accident rates, etc. Year-on-year trends. Don't just show this year's numbers. Show how they compare to previous years. Are you improving? By how much? Trends are more meaningful than single data points. Comparison to targets. Show how your actual performance compares to your targets. Are you on track, ahead, behind? Be honest. Benchmarking where possible. If you have benchmarking data, show how you compare to similar businesses. This provides context. Case studies and stories. This is where you bring your data to life. Numbers are important, but they can be a bit dry. Case studies and stories make your report engaging and helps stakeholders to understand the real-world impact of your ESG work. For example, instead of just saying, we reduced energy consumption by 15%, tell the story of how you upgraded your lighting system, what the process involved, what the results were, and what you learned. Instead of just reporting your diversity statistics, share a story about an employee from an underrepresented background who's thrived in your organisation. Show the human impact, demonstrate tangible actions, make it real. Next steps. This is where you look forward. What are you planning next? Outline your priorities for the coming year. What initiatives are you launching? What improvements are you targeting? Where do you need to improve? Be honest about where you have gaps or where you're not yet where you want to be. This builds credibility. What are your future commitments? Reaffirm your long-term goals and commitments. That's the basic structure. It's simple, it's logical, and it covers everything stakeholders need to know. Most businesses report on an annual cycle aligned with their financial year. Quarter 1, data collection. Quarter 2, analysis and drafting. Quarter 3, review and approval. Quarter 4, publication and communication. This rhythm ensures that reporting becomes a regular, manageable process rather than a last-minute scramble. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to get started. I'm going to give you a clear, actionable plan for what to do in the next 30 days.